Hey guys, it's Duke here, and it's Richard, also known as Sir Salverston, and it's preseason. The Las Vegas Golden Knights just had their first loss, 5-2 against the San Jose Sharks. What does this mean? Here's our reaction. Hey guys, early in the season, first two games, first against the Canucks, second against the Avalanche, and the Knights were just going crazy. They were scoring lots of goals, looking really, really good. People were starting to get giddy. And it kind of came home last night when the Golden Knights traveled to San Jose to play the Sharks. And there's a couple of reasons for that. And it's a reality check, but it's also good to kind of look at how some things are going. When you're looking, first of all, at the first games with the Canucks and the Avalanche, the very first games were mostly the younger players. Especially the first one with the Canucks. The Canucks basically only had younger players because their main team had gone to China to work and play in China. And so that literally left just the bottom of the roster, just the youngest, the newest, the least experienced. And while the Golden Knights sent the bottom of their roster, mostly they also had a couple of older veterans along there to kind of shake the rust off and get a better look at them. So the Knights going into the first Vancouver game, basically they had a better roster, a little bit more experienced. It wasn't massively overexperienced or anything, but it was definitely a step up from the young kids that the Canucks were playing. And so Las Vegas did very well. They won. They won handily. Then they went to Avalanche, and again the teams were a little bit more. It's the second preseason game. The Avalanche had a few more veterans in, but the Knights also had a few more veterans in. But they also had some of the higher level veterans in. For example, Marchessault, who is expected to be a top six center, possibly their top line center this coming year. He was playing, and a few others that are higher on the list. And again, the Knights went ahead and spanked the Avalanche in that second preseason game. Hoo-hoo! But guys, it's only preseason, and although it's a lot of fun to see all the goals scored, it's just preseason. And then, of course, last night, the Golden Knights traveled to San Jose. Now we're getting more into the top-level veterans starting to get some game time so they can get into game shape, ready for the season to actually kick off. You're running into a team that has a lot of all-stars skating with them. And San Jose just basically outclassed the Golden Knights the whole way. Couple takeaways, though. Number one, penalties. Oh my God. The Golden Knights are just giving up lots of penalties, slashing penalties, holding penalties. In the earlier games, they were having lots of problems with face-off violations, a lot of it caused by the new crackdown on face-off procedures, causing lots and lots of shorthanded situations. And it was handleable. It was handled well. It was a problem, but it wasn't anything that was bad. But in last night's game, the 5-2 loss, still having lots of problems, too many penalties, too many shorthanded situations. The biggest problem with the second period, when they trounced 4 goals, they were almost all shorthanded. I think 3 of them were shorthanded goals, and that was a problem. So that's the thing. Realize that the overall ability is getting higher. We're going to go ahead as far as the level of competition in these preseason games. The next few ones, most of the teams are going to start bringing out their top guns. We should have Marc-Andre Fleury between the pipes for the next few games as he gets ready to go ahead and prepare for the season. He's our top goalie. Yesterday we had Picard, who is expected to be our number 2 goalie. So it's going to get more. It's going to get more. We were playing against one of the top teams in the Pacific Division, and a lot of their veterans were playing too, and we were outclassed. And you got to expect it, partly because they do have more talent. They have a lot of all-stars that were playing, but it's also they've played together. They've got more team chemistry. The Vegas Golden Knights have only been playing together for a couple of weeks, and it's going to take time for them to sort things out. That's an ongoing process, so there's going to be some tough losses early as it gets sorted out. But another thing to look at is that the main reason for these preseason games is, number one, to get players into fighting shape, but number two, also to figure out who's going to play with who. And that's one of the big things that's going on. Picard had a rough night, yes and no, for example. Picard, from what I can tell, did a really amazing job in the first period. Knights only got 2 shots off in the first period, and they were completely outshot. The only reason that it wasn't a lot worse in the first period was simply because Picard was making some really nice saves on breakaways and that sort of thing. In the second period, with so many penalties breaking up, the Golden Knights were basically under siege. Picard was getting just left open by some misplays by Sabisa and a few others, and so he gave up 4 goals. Hard to tell if those 4 goals are really his fault. I have a hunch not so much. His stats look horrible. He had, I think, it was a .83, I think, as far as total for the game. But when he was 5-on-5, it was almost a .92. And like I said, he was just under siege that second period from all the 5-on-3s and 5-on-4s that was going because of the shorthanded situations. And so you really can't go ahead and put too much on it. The big thing is, how is he going to come back from that? Because he had some really horrible games last year playing for the Colorado Avalanche, in which, you know, the Colorado Avalanche defense was pretty bad. They had lots of shorthanded times, and he gave up some bad games, mostly because the defense in front of him was horrible. The defense and offense for the Golden Knights was pretty horrible. So it depends on how it's going to work out as far as how Picard will be able to become effective. I don't really expect the defense to keep going the way it is, because right now, again, the Coach Gallant is looking at pairings to seeing who works well together, who does a good job, who does a bad job. Like I said, Gallant has a reputation of starting with defense and doing a strong counterattacking sort of situation. I went ahead and posted a video earlier of some of the practices they were doing as far as shift changings and also counterattacking. And it's definitely something that he does. It's something that he emphasizes, and I think for as an expansion team, that's a great idea. That's going to take a while for the players to realize how the system works, how the positioning works, and especially for the defensemen, that's going to be a work in progress for a while. The good news is we do have a deep bench of defensemen, but it might take a while to go ahead and identify the ones that are going to work best within Gallant's system. And what are going to be the pairings that are going to work the best. I know Sabisa has been criticized a lot. The first few games he was expected to be a big contributor, but that has been going down. He's had a couple of poor showings in preseason, so it's going to depend on how that works out. The really big tests are going to be coming up in the next 2 or 3 weeks as we start a little bit farther into the system. They're going to start identifying more of the players who are going to be working down in the AHL with the Chicago Wolves, and concentrate more on the ones who are actually going to be playing with the big team in Las Vegas. And that way they'll be having more time together. They'll start, hopefully, melding more as a team, knowing how each other plays in certain situations so that they can react and keep the shape of the defensive formation going, protect the goalkeepers, and keep them going. Of course, hopefully, Fleury will be a big part of that. By the way, again, one of the videos that I posted earlier, Marc-Andre Fleury was working with Colasar and Gervais after the practice, doing some additional work. Now, I don't know if that was for Fleury or if it was for Gervais or Colasar or whatever, but it's nice when you've got a future Hall of Famer working after practice. And whether it was for him or whether it was for the other guys to get them work, or maybe it was just all three, that's the sort of thing that gets the work in, that gets you where you need to be. And I was really, really happy to see that happening, because that's the sort of work ethic we're going to need. We're not going to out-talent people this year. I think about the only team that we have a chance to out-talent might be the Avalanche, because they're in such a horrible state, and it might take them 2 or 3 years to undig themselves of the mess that they have. Everybody else, we're going to be behind the 8 ball as far as overall talent, especially at the top line talent. But we're going to have to work, going to have to be in the corners, forechecking, back-checking, and that's only going to happen if we work hard. And it's nice to see that the face of your franchise is working hard after practice, getting better, helping others get better. That's a good thing. And so I expect the next few games are going to be rough, because the other teams, they've had some time to work together. They've got a history with each other. They've got more cohesion. They've got a more efficient idea of where everybody works and how things were going. Las Vegas has to build that from scratch, and so the first 2 easy games that they had, those are gone. The next ones are probably going to be difficult at times, rocky at times, but the good news is that these don't count. It isn't until the season begins. But I'm looking forward to this season. I'm looking forward to these guys. They're putting in a lot of good work. They're strong. If you guys have a chance, come on down to the City National Arena and go ahead and see these guys work. You can go ahead and come on in. The stands are full almost every practice watching these guys work out. They're very accessible. And it's just really a fun thing. Just make sure you bring a coat, because it's pretty cold in there. So, take care, guys. Have fun, peace, and Golden Knights. Let's go.